Back to the Guardian Academy. Today we are going to talk about Exponential Personal Growth Toolbox. We're just going to cover one tool. If you are in the Guardian Academy or you just fancy yourself a learner or a student, I highly recommend you take the couple of minutes to watch this video and at least think about what I'm going to reveal or present today. Okay, so the first tool that we like to use is called the 6-word update. You'll see it, the 6WU. We're going to talk about that in a different video, just planting the seed here. 6-word update. Really powerful to actually understand, learn, and figure things out. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is figuring things out, recognizing things that may not be obvious to others, making them obvious to you. That gives you a huge advantage. We're going to do that with the case in point. Now, all the case in point is a tool to help you avoid the pitfalls of quote-unquote learning. Okay? So when we have a new disruptive technology or an industry, it is especially important. Now, this is true in all industries, across all fields, in any domain. But with a new disruptive technology, it is extra important because the rules aren't clear, meaning we have to figure out how it works. Crypto, for example, blockchain has not been widely adopted for 10 years. So as it's getting adopted, people have to figure out how it works. And those that can actually figure things out, not know how to do it, but figure it out, are going to have a massive advantage. So we're talking about how a case in point can help with that. Now, your biggest enemy to actually doing this, being able to figure things out, is domain dependence. I'm going to go over to an article that I wrote not too long ago. And you can take all of these actions, okay? The act of sweating, the steps necessary for neurotransmission, melting polar ice caps, economic bubbles, actions of the Federal Reserve, and increased gas prices leading to an increase in grocery prices. Those are things that happen. Now, poor problem solvers are going to be domain dependent. They're going to say the act of sweating, that's a biology problem. Steps necessary for neurotransmission, that's a biology problem. Okay? Actions of the Federal Reserve, that's an economic problem. The issue is, when you think this way, you fail to determine the deep structure, right? So if you don't know the act of sweating, then you won't be able to figure out what it is doing, why it's happening, how to prevent it. Is it good? Is it bad? You won't know. Okay? So what we want to look to is we want to find a deep structure. So somebody looking at a deep structure will actually see, for example, the act of sweating is a negative feedback loop because sweat cools the body, so that sweating is no longer necessary. And that's the underlying structure. It's not a biology problem. It's a negative feedback loop. Positive feedback loop, melting polar ice caps, economic bubbles, causal chains. Okay, gas prices leading to grocery prices increasing. It's not so much an economic problem. That's what it looks like. It manifests as an economic problem. But it's a causal chain. And if you understand it's a causal chain, then you know how to start to figure out how to solve it. So what does that have to do with the case in point? Well, the case in point is the strategy or the method of learning to see underlying structures. Okay? So you do this by consuming the content, and then, I'm going the wrong direction here, and then reflecting, journaling, and paying attention. It really is that simple. Let me give you an example. I used within the Guardian Academy, if you're in the portal, you'll see a whole bunch of times we use the quote, dopamine without effort will destroy a person. And we give a bunch of examples in crypto specifically. Now, a case in point would be saying, where else could I see this in my life? Not as a crypto, a domain thing, but where else can I observe that dopamine without effort has a negative impact? And now we're doing a case in point. We're taking the underlying pattern, concept, or principle, and we're applying it to other areas. Now, here's a great example. This is a guest article by Wolf Pup number 29. So, a guest article by Wolf Pup 29, and this is right here. Recently, the Guardian Academy has referenced the concept of easy dopamine versus hard dopamine. This quote has been shared. High levels of dopamine achieved without effort will destroy a person, by Andrew Huberman. Okay, so that's what he learned as like an underlying structure from the Guardian Academy. Now, what he continued to do was run an experiment with his kids. And you can see here, video games, TV, things that give dopamine, and was able to recognize in both his children and himself how that underlying statement or that idea was impacting other areas of his life. I'm not going to read this whole thing. We will link to it in the right below this video. So hopefully that makes sense. This is a beautiful case in point. You don't have to go this in depth, but I mean, this is obviously really well written. I strongly recommend when you see a concept and you go, oh, that makes sense in crypto, or oh, that makes sense in finance, or that makes sense in weight loss. We then reflect, journal, pay attention, and look for the underlying pattern in other areas of our life. And then we sit down and we write about it. We share our experience. Okay, it's a case in point. What that does is that makes you a phenomenal problem solver, less of a victim, because you don't need to know a thing. You can figure anything out if you continue to do these case in points. Okay? And then, as we always do in the Guardian Academy, it's 1, help yourself, remove suffering from yourself, provide opportunity for yourself, understand how the world works, and turn around and help others do the same. So we encourage you to share your case in points. You can tweet them. You can write articles. In this case, this wolf pup holder sent a Google Doc, and we asked, hey, can we publish this? This is amazing. Now, we'll probably have incentive programs and stuff for guardians to create case in points, but whether or not you're incentivized, you should understand that this is a perfect example of dopamine without effort will destroy a person. So here's a case in point inside of a video about case in points. Is a lot of people won't do this because there's not an obvious reward. There's no notification or piece of candy or, high five or whatever. So what you can do is you can sit down, observe things, do the work, create a really strong case in point. Okay? And then if you want, you can drop it on Twitter and tag a bunch of people. Like you could tag us, the Guardian Academy, and we will retweet it and it'll get shared. And now you're getting dopamine, but you're getting dopamine in exchange for valuable effort. Yeah, so that we just did a case in point right inside of a video about case in points. Hope that makes sense. Strongly encourage you do it. Obviously, nobody's checking your homework, so you're doing this for yourself, and you're doing this to get dopamine somewhere else in space and time. You're improving your life over time by understanding these tools.